It's no secret Holden is doing it particularly hard, with record low sales volumes and a very poor result in the latest Trusted Brand survey. It seems the Holden brand is on the nose these days, so is the release of the Corvette C8 in Australia the perfect opportunity for GM Australia to switch from selling the so-called Holden brand cars to selling the genuine Chevrolet brand? Stay tuned and I'll tell you how that could work. This subject has been close to my heart for some time. The last couple of years I was at Holden. With the decision made Holden would cease manufacturing cars, it seemed pointless to me that Holden would become a rebadging operation, buying cars and badging them as Holdens. But the powers that presided, led I assume by the marketing team, felt that Holden was an iconic name in Australia and the Holden badge would always sell cars. I and a lot of others watched the sales dwindling each month and wondered how they reached their conclusion. The iconic badge didn't seem to be working. I'm going to give you 4 points explaining why I believe changing GM Australia from the Holden product to the genuine Chevy product is GM's only chance of survival here, but it may already be too late. Holden does have a proud heritage. Holden's Motor Body Builders was registered as a company in 1919 and in 1924 opened its new state-of-the-art factory in Woodville, South Australia. GM decided not to build its own body assembly plant in Australia and did a deal with Holden to produce only GM vehicle bodies at this Woodville plant. But in 1931 the Great Depression caught out Holden, who had just completed a major expansion just at the wrong time, and GM bought out Holden completely to form General Motors Holden Automotive. Holden presented its first locally manufactured car in 1948 at Fisherman's Bend in Melbourne. Holden then went on to build a string of family cars from 1948 right through to 1978 when the first Holden Commodore was released. The Commodore name stayed around right to the end. The Holden cars, with their rear-wheel drive and relatively big 6-cylinder and then V8 engines, have always been a favourite with the hot-up boys. Holden has also had great racing success in Australia's touring car racing and has been a regular winner at Australia's Great Race, these days known as the Bathurst 1000. Holdens Heritage is its proud past of manufacturing Australian cars, not in its future of badging others' cars as Holdens. I'm certainly proud of Holden's past. It's been a great car maker with many memorable models throughout its history, but it's all over now, to echo the words of Mick Jagger. From being Australia's top-selling brand in 2002, things have gone downhill for Holden. Rapidly declining sales for 18 months, no longer in the top 10 brands, no cars in the top 10 vehicle sales, and its November sales dropping 48% from the same time last year. Holden's share of the market is now just over 4% and in danger of dropping below 4%. And to make matters worse, the Roy Morgan Risk Monitor research, which surveys customers on the most trusted automotive brands, found Holden was outside the top 10 in the survey results. My own thoughts on why Holden is on the nose comes under 3 different headings. A. Consumers thought Holden made all or most of their cars. Now they know for certain they build none. Unless you read the car magazines or the motoring journalists in the press, you wouldn't really know. And the majority of people don't read the motoring press. But now they know for sure the cars aren't built in Australia and have lost any incentive to put Holden on that option list. B. Consumers believe many of the Holden cars are built by Daewoo. Interestingly, when GM took over the South Korean company in 2001, it was actually Holden that held the highest percentage of shares in that company. But Holden did itself no favours when it chose to rebadge some of the legacy Daewoo designs as Holdens. But this was in the past. The only GM Korea-built vehicle imported by Holden these days is the Chevrolet Trax, which is also built in Mexico and China, and is acknowledged by most as a good vehicle. C. Holden took government money to keep itself afloat and sent $150 million back to GM North America. I'm not sure how many people know about this or remember it, but it did make news at the time. While this transaction, which was labelled as a return of capital to the Detroit-based parent, was above board, it had a bad look to it, particularly as it happened soon after GM announced it would be closing Holden's assembly plant, with the loss of a lot of jobs. The trust in Holden has evaporated. All of this seems to have made Holden a bit on the nose. The Holden was very much given the DNA of the Chevy at its first inception. Chevy was the people's car, as was the Holden. Chevy was also the favourite of the hot rodders. Holden has been a favourite car to hot up here too. Chevy has been heavily involved in NASCAR racing, championship drag racing and even sports car racing, via the Corvette of course. Likewise, Holden has always been involved in motor racing. The Chevy name is highly respected in Australia amongst the muscle car lovers, and many have even elected to rebadge their Holdens as Chevys. The Holden faithful, those who go to Bathurst each year, those who want a tough work truck, and those who like V8 muscle cars, will be very happy to embrace the Chevy brand. Many of them already do, and they'll be more than happy to embrace the C8 Corvette as their new king. Now let me show you what the lineup could be. Some of these vehicles already come in right-hand drive configuration and could be just rebadged. And when I say rebadged, I mean they are rebadged to what they really are, Chevys. I'm calling them a done deal. Then again, others are virtually a must-have, the cars that Chevy needs to commit to right-hand drive if they really want to get the brand going in Australia. And then finally, there are the stretch target cars, the ones that would be super nice to have, but maybe need to wait to see how the brand goes after the influx of the done deals and the must-have cars are introduced and become successful. Okay, let's take a look at my lineup. Number one's the Corvette. The C8 Corvette is a done deal. It's coming to Australia and is my trigger for the Chevrolet brand. Unfortunately, with GM's decision to make the Vette ultra expensive here, it's not going to trouble the bestseller list. It'll be an image or halo car for GM in Australia. Second is the Camaro. This is a must-have car. Chevy needs to cover the Ford Mustang, which has been an outstanding success in Australia. The issue here is the next generation Camaro has been put on hold, and it would have to be the next generation car that would be engineered for both left-hand drive and right-hand drive. The Camaro is popular here already, but it currently has to be converted to right-hand drive, adding considerable cost to the bottom line. Camaro is a must as the GM everyday car, and the one that races at Bathurst, and it's the one all the former Holden V8 buyers would jump onto here. It's both perfect and essential for Australia. Classic Camaros abound in Australia, and the name is already iconic. Number 3 is the Colorado. This is the first and essential entry into the ute or pickup segment. This is another done deal, as it already exists in Australia and is currently Holden's top seller. But there's an important proviso here. As is currently rumoured, we need to get this US design 2021 Colorado, and it absolutely must be wearing the Chevy badge. This is a really tough looking ute, as you can see, and this would be an absolute winner here. And to me, the Chevy badge on the front makes it that much more impressive. Number 4 is the Silverado. I'm actually going to put this one as a must-have, and I'm doing this because the Silverado has already established a market in Australia. It's been sold for some time in Australia as a left-hand drive import from independent sellers, and it's required a right-hand drive conversion on arrival. Because of the cost of conversion, there's been a tendency for people to purchase at the top end of the spec, making the vehicles worth around $140,000. Even at this price, I'm led to believe there are up to about 2,000 vehicles sold each year in Australia. With GM building right-hand drive in the plant, not only would these particular top-of-the-range vehicles cost far less, but the lower spec Silverado could also be imported, and with a reasonable price on this car, the sales volume would increase to a very respectable level. Certainly a lot higher volume than the Corvette, and Silverado would also be very much a feature or halo vehicle for the brand in Australia. Number 5 is the Trax. We now move from utes to the SUV segment. The Trax is Chevy's offering in the compact SUV segment, and it's already sold in Australia with a Holden badge, so this one's a done deal. Chevy would be hoping for a boost in sales when it's returned to its real Chevy badge. Number 6 is the Equinox. Like the Trax, Equinox is also already available in right-hand drive and is in the Holden range, badged as a Holden. So this one is also a done deal. And from every report I hear, this is a very good car, but it seems to be dragged down by the Holden nameplate. I was really interested to hear a little while ago a long-time Holden man tell me that he looked at an Equinox at his Holden dealership, and the main selling point raised by the salesman over and over was this vehicle was really a Chevy, and hence it was a really good vehicle. Do you see my point? Number 7, the Arcadia. Now this is a difficult one. The Arcadia is not a Chevy, it's a GMC. This vehicle is already built in right-hand drive configuration in Tennessee, especially for Holden. Because of this, it's hard to see it being dropped anytime soon. It looks to me like it's a done deal. I'd go legit and badge it as a GMC. Number 8 is the Trailblazer. I also need to mention here the Holden Trailblazer, using the frame of the Thai-built Colorado. It's built as a Chevy in Thailand, so until Chevy can get some better SUVs happening, this also looks like a done deal, but with its Chevy badge. Number 9 is the Blazer. The Blazer is a new offering from Chevy. This looks like a great vehicle that would really liven up the segment in Australia. The bad news is this new vehicle has just been released, but without any mention of right-hand drive. I'm tempted to call this a must-have because the SUV lineup in Australia is not working and needs a boost from a special vehicle. All the reports I've watched indicate this is a special vehicle. I'm going to have to call it a stretch target, but I believe a vehicle like this is badly needed to make Chevy Australia a success. And number 10, the Suburban. Lastly, this may be one out of the blue, but because the Suburban is based on the Silverado chassis, its right-hand drive version would come at a very low cost. This is the vehicle that, dressed in black, is a regular star of movies and TV shows. There are always black Suburbans running around, and it's capable of becoming quite a cult car in Australia, but would also be popular amongst those towing big vans, horse floats and the like. I'd have to put it down as a stretch target though, but being based on the Silverado, perhaps they could come as a pair. Okay, that's my lineup. So what do you think? Apart from the Corvette, I think Chevy would really need the Camaro and Silverado to make an impact. And the US Colorado is a walk-up to be GM's best seller here and would really take it to Toyota, Ford and Mitsubishi with their use. But the Chevy badge is needed. A Chevy truck is a Chevy truck, and putting on a Holden badge is only going to lose sales, not gain them. Now, I'm a huge admirer of the Holden Heritage, but very sadly, it's been and gone. It's time to move on. If it's a Chevy, I say call it a Chevy, and bring out the cars with the DNA that the Australians would love. The cars I've just mentioned. Holden is just hanging in there, with no one too excited about the brand or its cars. Could a change to Chevy save the day? I'd like to hear what everyone thinks about that, and also what you think of my suggested vehicle lineup. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you found it interesting. To catch all my videos, you should subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. That will certainly help the channel survive. Check out my website too. There are new postings several times a week. But for now, happy vetting, and I hope to talk to you again real soon.